Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, like a video that I did approximately 4 or 5 months ago, I'm doing this in an airport. It's not that I enjoy doing videos when I am in between traveling or vacation or work, but sometimes I get inspired by ideas that I believe are going to be helpful to you guys. For example, today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between the gray rock method and my observe, don't absorb technique in combating narcissistic abuse. And of course, you'll find out soon enough that the term combating, fighting, is exactly what neither of the approaches suggest or recommend. Before I proceed, let me tell you about my understanding of what the gray rock method is. But before I do so, let me be very clear. This video is not about the gray rock method. Before I begin, let me explain to you what the gray rock method is. But first, just to be clear, this video is not pro-gray rock method. It is a comparison between two different viable approaches to defend and protect oneself from narcissistic abuse. The gray rock method was developed for people who felt trapped in relationships with sociopaths or psychopaths or scheming and pathologically manipulative or manipulating narcissists. It helped people find a solution to a relationship that had none, that was overpowering, that was relentlessly oppressing, that was abusive, that was filled with gaslighting and overt manipulation, say brainwashing and coercion. The gray rock method was developed to help victims of narcissistic abuse who felt they had no hope to ever escape the harm that was perpetrated against them by their pathological narcissist. I use the term pathological narcissist to explain one of 4 types of person. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder, which can be subdivided in types such as malignant narcissist, covert narcissist, what I would call the garden variety of overt narcissist, and other varieties of narcissistic personality disorder, as well as individuals with antisocial personality disorder, which are known as sociopaths, psychopaths, or people who behave, think, and relate to other people without empathy and without remorse for any of their actions. Just as a reminder, I'm doing this at the airport. It's Fort Lauderdale Airport, and there's a lot of tired children who should be taking a nap, who probably have spent the last week in Disney World. But my heart goes out to the poor parents who are trying to manage their own mental health with such normal but temperamental children. So back on track here. The gray rock method has actually helped thousands of victims of narcissistic abuse, and I call these victims folks with self-love deficit disorder, which is a term that I created to replace codependency. So in this video, when I refer to an SLD, someone who is self-love deficient, that is the term that most people would use for codependent, which are the type of people that are in relationships with pathological narcissists. The gray rock method finds its efficacy or its power in being and becoming uninteresting to the narcissist, who, by their very nature, their pathologically narcissistic nature, has an insatiable need for attention, affirmation, validation. They are an open sieve for taking from others what they don't have in themselves. According to my book, and what many of you already know, the human magnet syndrome, pathological narcissists, by their very nature, are almost always going to be in a relationship with an SLD or a codependent. It is very difficult for a codependent or an SLD to set boundaries, to find defensive and protective strategies to neutralize the abuse and the power and control strategies enforced or perpetrated by their partner, their pathological narcissist partner. And I say that because it's not always as simple as someone who is entrapped in a relationship because of a fear of being physically beaten up, being overtly abused. More often than not, it's because they have been systematically been beaten down, gaslit, disempowered, marginalized, so that even if they had power to escape, the pathological narcissist has made them believe, which is fairly easy to do with SLDs, made them believe that they actually have no way to escape. And in the cases of gaslighting, they believe that they are powerless even when they have power, and they have been stripped one layer at a time of any resource, emotional, financial, social, occupational, any resource that would get them free, or get them free from their captor. The Gray Rock method caught the interest of SLDs, victims of narcissistic abuse, because it gave them a strategy to become less of the candy that the narcissist needed in order to satiate their hunger for attention. The primary philosophy behind the Gray Rock method is to not give the narcissist what they need and not let the narcissist know you are doing it on purpose. If the narcissist needs constant validation, constant affirmation, constant feelings of importance, and needs a person to suspend their own personal, social, and psychological needs for the partner whom they are entrapped by, then the surviving SLD has to find a way to escape the dangerous pathological web that the narcissistically abusive partner has over them, or has them entwined and entrapped. The Gray Rock method proposes to find ways to be uninteresting, to be boring, to be unattractive, to be simple, to be passively and secretively less interesting to the narcissist. The goal of this method is to make the narcissist lose interest in you, so much so that they find other sources for their insatiable narcissistic needs. Now let me just repeat this. As I'm watching 20 teenagers walk past me, the goal of the Gray Rock method is to find a way to make the narcissist lose interest in you by being the type of person that doesn't feed their insatiable narcissistic needs. And that can be accomplished by a variety of methods, a variety of approaches. And you can either not laugh at their jokes, you can not comment about what they say, or their attention-seeking behavior. But all in all, it is to trick the narcissist into not only losing interest in you, but realizing you're not going to give him or her what he or she needs, so they find another source. And one of the reasons the Gray Rock method doesn't work, it's because it presupposes that once you are free from the relationship with the narcissist, then your mental health will be freed up, and not only will you escape, but you will find personal, social, financial, religious, all sorts of freedom, and you will be happily ever after. But as I explained in my Human Magnet Syndrome book, that is not the case. It is simply not going to happen. Given enough time away from the pathological narcissist, who you have successfully, through the Gray Rock method, manipulated to not be interested in you and to find another source, you're going to still find and be attracted to another narcissist. I promise you, it always happens. And since this video is not about the human magnet syndrome, but about the comparison of the gray rock method and the observe, don't absorb technique, I'm not going to explain why. I have a book out there, The Human Magnet Syndrome. You will find that my book will be quite illuminating and descriptive in why it's almost impossible to escape the bonds, the links, the ropes that tie you into this long history of being in a relationship with a pathological narcissist, and when ending one, finding the next one. So the gray rock method, it doesn't work because it is very, very difficult to outsmart a narcissist and become disinterested, become disinteresting enough where they're going to leave you. To understand why, you have to understand that the pathological narcissist has very, very little, if any, social skills or abilities to attract other people. And they are not interested in trying to find another person because deep inside they're extremely insecure, extremely shame-based, and feel inept in the process of finding the replacement. So it's not easy to pull off this method and find a way out of your captivity. It simply is not easy. And I just don't know a lot of people who have successfully departed the relationship using this gray rock method. I've read about it and I've heard people saying it worked, but I've heard no follow-up. And if I did, again, I'd bet everything, and of course I'm not really serious about betting, but I'd bet the farm, as they say, that person would eventually find another narcissist who they would find healthy and attractive and charming, fall in love with him or her, and find themselves once again in a human magnet syndrome infused relationship. So if the gray rock method doesn't work, or even if it does, it doesn't stop the person from getting into the same type of relationship, then what does? Well, if you've been following me, you know that the only way to escape narcissistic abuse is to not get into what I would call the wrestling ring with the narcissist pig. And of course, I always use saying, never wrestle with a pig. You'll get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it. In other words, you will always lose a fight when you try to take on the narcissist directly. And directly could mean overtly arguing, resisting, or covertly, such as the gray rock method. The narcissist is the king of the wrestling ring. If you were going to fight someone and he was a professional wrestler, the last place you need to be is in a wrestling ring in order to find a solution to the relationship problem. And the gray rock method is putting yourself in the wrestling ring. You are assuming that you can outsmart the narcissist and make them miraculously lose interest in you so you can walk away scot-free in this relationship. It doesn't happen, and it offers false hope and at best short-term solutions. The solution is to follow many of my techniques, however, with the primary one being the observe, don't absorb technique. Just to be clear, ODA, observe, don't absorb technique, is not the beginning and the end to the strategy on managing narcissistic abuse. It's one of many strategies that, with the help of a qualified mental health or other qualified professional, you can escape the relationship. And you don't escape because you take on the narcissist. You don't escape because you find a way to not be their narcissist candy. You escape because you quit fighting You learn about your own strength, your own resources, your own abilities, which are, according to my ODA method, are neutralized, are overwhelmed if you fight. Please consider this. The fight with the pig in the wrestling ring ends up in defeat. I use the explanation of false power syndrome to explain why so many SLDs, codependents, believe they can get out of the relationship if they're mad enough or angry enough or depressed enough. If they somehow feel a surge of power because of anger, they are compelled to fight. Well, that's the very worst thing that you can do, because once you're in a wrestling ring, you're going to get a smackdown. You're going to get pinned by the dirty narcissist pig, and you're going to wonder, why did you ever even try to fight? The solution is to not engage the narcissist, is to not believe that you can somehow overpower, outthink, outsmart the narcissist in any active strategy. Observe, don't absorb will teach you that your power is when you don't emotionally connect to the narcissist. You can, in your own way, you can disassociate in a healthy way. You can listen and watch the narcissist be narcissistic, and you can free yourself of your emotion. Just like a fly on the wall looking down, or if you had, this out-of-body experience, you would be looking down at a situation and watching the narcissist try to hurt you, try to control you, try to manipulate you, but you wouldn't feel the emotional angst, pain, anger, and loneliness. It is super, super important to understand the power of disconnecting from your emotions, to not absorb the narcissist. Because once they activate you, once they get under your skin, once you take in the toxicity, you absorb it, and you are activated emotionally to fight back, that's when the narcissist will always overpower you. Even if it's not in that moment when you have this burst of anger and you call the police or you do a restraining order. You're engaging the pig in the wrestling ring, and you're going to get dirty, and then you're going to wonder, WTF, why am I so filled with this stench of mud and slop? It's because you fought someone where they love to fight, where they know how to fight, and they got you. The Gray Rock method is a form of fighting, and even if it does work, there's a cost. The best way, the only way to disconnect from narcissistic abuse is to find a path of self-love recovery. Everything I do is about self-love recovery. I created a treatment protocol, a treatment method. It's in my books, it's in my YouTube videos. My Self-Love Recovery Institute, SLRI, has full-length 6-hour videos explaining in detail what is self-love recovery and how do you through it in order to finally end narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse does not happen because of what you do with the narcissist or how you do it. The power of it is what you do with yourself and how you heal your self-love deficit disorder and how you progress into self-love abundance. Now let me say that again, especially if the background noise was distracting. And there are a lot of people around me, so I wouldn't blame you if you were distracted. And they're all looking at me very strangely. Narcissistic abuse does not end because of how you fight or don't fight the narcissist. It doesn't. It ends when you can't find and understand the solution is your mental health, emotional health, your unresolved trauma, your you being captured because of your addiction to the narcissist. You're falling prey to your pathological loneliness. The only way is to resolve your self-love deficit disorder and become, through my 10-stage method, self-love abundant. And to do that, there are many things that are required in this 10-stage program. And one of the most powerful and most efficacious of all of the things that I will teach you is the observe, don't absorb method. Don't let them under your skin. Don't let the toxins get inside of you so that you feel emboldened or reactive to fight back. The Gray Rock method is going to take a very long time to work. It's going to keep you in the wrestling ring. And even at best, once you're out of it, you're going to find yourself to be so horribly lonely. And the shame of being outside of a relationship is going to drive you into the arms of the next beautiful, seductive, charming woman or man, narcissist, who's going to start off as your soulmate and invariably end up as your cellmate. So that's it. The Gray Rock method is decent, but it doesn't work. It's all about self-love recovery, finding the source of why you become attracted to and stay in a relationship with a narcissist, disconnecting from them affectively, emotionally, while finding the resources to build your life for yourself, about yourself, whether it's for you and your children, but for your future. So I hope this helped, and I hope the noise wasn't too disturbing, but when an idea comes, I didn't want to miss it. So take care and be well.